Today we're going to dive into the latest juicy news in the motorcycle sphere. From Harley-Davidson Japan offices getting graded by officials, Kawasaki's new hydrogen motorcycle prototype, Yamaha creating a new semi-automatic gearbox that just might put Honda's DCT to shame, potentially motorcycles getting seatbelts, and some companies downsizing while others are expanding, and Harley-Davidson finally doing something that non-Harley supporters can get behind, and much more. So let's get started. On July 30th, Japan's Fair Trade Commission reportedly conducted raids on offices of Harley-Davidson Japan. These raids were triggered by the accusations that they were imposing extremely high sales quotas on contracted dealerships in Japan. Japanese news outlets indicate that Harley-Davidson Japan reportedly started setting these overly ambitious sales goals somewhere between 2020 and 2021, and dealerships were threatened non-renewal on their contracts if they didn't meet these sales goals. As a result of this, dealerships allegedly were forced to purchase motorcycles themselves in order to be able to hit this quota and have their contract with their dealership renewed the following year. Under this agreement, it said that executives and lower-level employees were purchasing motorcycles under their name, them being considered unused motorcycles but registered. The value of the motorcycle immediately drops, forcing that these dealers were selling these motorcycles right away at a loss, regardless of them being brand new motorcycles. Japan's Fair Trade Commission suspect that this could be a breach on the country's strict Anti-Monopoly Act. If these accusations hold to be true, this situation causes a significant issue. It might violate the provision of abuse of superior bargaining position, as Harley-Davidson Japan allegedly threatened to terminate contracts if they didn't comply in meeting the sales quotas. Looks like Harley-Davidson potentially has another PR problem on their hands, and if they're not careful, their next slogan might be "Live to Ride, but only if you meet the quota." I'm not entirely shocked by this news, being that I used to work at Harley-Davidson as a mechanic. I do understand there's the really big push for meeting certain numbers, whether it's sold bikes, parts sold, build hours that are made out, and even just the whole term of upselling. These are really big topics pushed in both dealerships that I worked at and from just other people that I have known in the industry. There is definitely that big push in upselling and meeting those numbers, and it can be rather stressful at times. So hopefully Harley can kind of get their act together and figure that situation out, because that definitely does kind of put a bad image on Harley-Davidson, on top of already them having somewhat of a poor reputation regarding price and the upsellingness of their products. Also in Japan, just recently, the 45th annual 8-hour road race at the Suzuka circuit took place. For those who don't know, it's an iconic 8-hour endurance race on motorcycles. While it isn't the longest endurance race out there, it is one of the more tougher ones with their intense figure-8 track. With Honda taking the win, being their third year in a row and their 30th win there in total, the biggest news to come out of the Suzuka circuit race was Kawasaki debuting their prototype of a hydrogen-powered motorcycle, improving its functionality. However, there are still many doubters of the practicality of hydrogen being a potential fuel source. This research project started as early as 2021 and maybe even earlier from Kawasaki, with the prototype motorcycle incorporating the engine of the 998cc supercharged 4-cylinder Ninja H2, with it being modified for direct hydrogen injection. Supercharging is nearly essential in hydrogen-fueled combustion engines, and hydrogen having a much higher air-to-fuel ratio than gasoline motors. Using a supercharger to compress air before it enters the cylinder helps meet this requirement to make it work. But don't worry, the production of this bike is nowhere near from being around the corner, as the rollout of hydrogen-powered motorcycles really depends on the presence of the necessary facilities. Now, with that being said, Newly elected British government officials have publicly stated their intention in halting the sales of new combustion engine cars by 2035. The leader of this project at Kawasaki has stated regarding this potential change and to ease people's approach towards hydrogen-powered motorcycles that hydrogen engines produce power like conventional gasoline engines. Air is taken in, mixed with fuel, and then combusted. But with hydrogen, when hydrogen combusts, water is produced. And you'll notice if you have your hand near the tailpipe, you can feel moisture coming off. It's like a humidifier on wheels. As if that makes people more warmed up to the idea of this potential change in technology in motorcycles and cars. Kawasaki, however, really does see this potentially in the future, with the company saying with it currently conducting research in the development of this new technology that it's aiming to create a functioning hydrogen motorcycle as one carbon neutral option for riders as early as the early 2030s. That's really not that far out into the future. This engine was created as a part of Kawasaki's involvement in the High Seas Research Association, collaborating with Honda, Suzuki, Yamaha, and Toyota in the advancement of hydrogen combustion engines for smaller vehicles. But there is one positive note. The sound of this bike is much like a traditional gas motor, unlike electric vehicles or electric motorcycles, which sound like nothing what we're used to. But on the downside, currently with this prototype, don't even consider riding two up. The only backpack you'll be riding with is the one on your back, because those seemingly two large bags on the side are used for fuel, not for luggage. The massive rear bodywork on this motorcycle is definitely an eyesore in my opinion, and I don't think it'll be winning any beauty contest anytime soon. Many people do like a big rear end, but I don't think that's the case when it comes to motorcycles. Technological advancements is nothing new. It's something that'll keep happening and something that has always been happening. While this is still a rather new topic for us to understand and grasp, it is interesting to see it unfold and come to life. And I'm curious to see how this prototype will evolve with time and if it will be a convenient technology for us to use. Because as of right now, it doesn't look all that convenient. You're gonna have to ride light if it just stays the same way it is now. I don't see that being rather convenient for many riders who travel long distances. Speaking of Kawasaki H2s, already two-time Guinness World Record holder stuntman Jonny Davies sets a date and location for his high-speed Kawasaki H2 skiing attempt record. He intends to break the world record of fastest speed being dragged behind a motorcycle while wearing special titanium boots. To make this all a reality, Jonny Davies has modified his supercharged H2 to have a secondary throttle at the rear of his motorcycle. And let me say, this is something we should all be thankful that our backpacks don't have access to. Those who don't know much about the supercharged H2, Kawasaki refers as to the H2 SX as its second generation of supercharged engine, with it coming in at 998 cc's, 4-stroke, inline 4-cylinder, liquid-cooled engine with a 6-speed transmission, making a top speed of about 186 miles per hour. It produces a claimed amount of 196 horsepower at 11,000 RPM and 101 foot-pounds of torque at 8,500 RPM. And those are some mighty figures for a sports tour motorcycle. The H2 has a curb weight of 590 pounds, but for Mr. Two-time world record holder Jonny Davies, the worries of low speed stabilities with this bike being on the heavier side shouldn't be an issue on this case. The record attempt will take place at Elvington Airfield in the UK on August 18th. The current record stands at 156.3 miles per hour, and it was set by stunt rider Gary Rothwell in 1999 on a Suzuki Hayabusa. Asides the record he's potentially about to set, the two other records Jonny Davies holds is the world's fastest handlebar wheelie that he set in 2020 Jonny successfully completed a handlebar wheelie while sitting on the gas tank and his feet over the handlebars at 109 miles per hour. However, that record has already been beaten by a Swedish stunt rider, Magnus Carlsen, at 125 miles per hour. What the second record he holds is the most donuts performed around a motorcycle performing a wheelie in 1 minute, with Jonny holding his wheelie for 1 minute while a car stunt rider performed 10 full donuts around him. Who knew that was a thing? I feel like anything can be made into a world record if you can dream it and you can do it, as long as somebody else can't do it better than you. So good luck to Jonny. Hopefully the weather will be in his favor when performing this record. But remember, kids, leave the stunts to the professionals and stick to doing your homework. For those who are fans or supporters of the ever-growing push of electric vehicles, there is some good news coming your way. Until now, the primary challenge for electric vehicles was shortening the charging time and extending its range. At the SNE Battery Day 2024 Expo in Seoul, South Korea, Samsung unveiled its latest innovation, its EV-specific solid-state oxide battery, and it's boasting some impressive capabilities. A 20-year lifespan, 9-minute charge time, a lighter weight, improved safety due to better thermal stability, and an impressive energy density of about 500 watt-hours per kilogram, which is nearly double that of current electric vehicle batteries. In simple terms, what this means is that there's potentially about 600 miles in range on a single charge with this battery. That sounds too good to be true, right? While these solid-state batteries sound quite promising, there's a catch. There always is. Achieving that claimed 9-minute charge time requires significant charging facilities, which are still quite rare. The real challenge is not the technology itself, but it's how quickly these charging stations can be built and made for public use. Additionally, solid-state electric vehicle batteries currently cost 3 to 4 times more to produce than lithium-ion and LFP batteries, making them less economically feasible. Of course, as of right now, solid-state batteries are expensive and they do require an advanced technology to be fully utilized. But you've got to remember this. Not that long ago, plasma TVs were considered a luxury and CRTs were the standard. But nowadays, even your grandparents have a plasma TV hanging on their wall. So who's not to say in 20 years or even less that solid-state batteries will become the norm for electric vehicles? While advancements in electric motorcycles and cars are truly impressive, with potential features of 600-mile ranges and 9-minute charge times, I am fully in the camp of gas-powered engines. The magic of combustion engines really fuels the spirit, and it's part of the thrill of how car and motorcycle engines work. So you won't see me going to take a loan out for an electric motorcycle anytime soon. Modern technological advancements aside, Yamaha Europe ramped up its nostalgia factor by many points with their 7 special XSR 900 GP retro sports bikes, each featuring custom paint schemes inspired from motorcycles in the 1980s and 1990s. XSR 900 GP pairs Yamaha's powerful 890cc 3-cylinder CP3 engine with eye-catching bodywork. All 7 of these special motorcycles appeared at the Wheels in Waves motorcycle show in France, paying tribute to the iconic models of Yamaha's past. Yamaha's official stance is that this bike celebrates the company's 40 years of using Delta Box aluminum frames both on their race and road motorcycles, with this tradition beginning with Kenny Roberts' 1983 YZR 500 Grand Prix bike, and ever since being incorporated on their road models. Now, if you look closely, this is basically Yamaha's XSR 900 with a new exhaust, new fairing, and a sportier seating position. But I'll say, It is about time motorcycle companies start paying tribute to older generations of motorcycling. Motorcycles are not just a means of transportation, but also a way to express oneself. The XSR 900 GP is the perfect accolade to Yamaha's iconic past, proving while you can take a bike out of the retro era, but you can't take away the timelessness out of retro. For those who crave an old school style with today's thrills, Yamaha's got you covered with this new motorcycle. While on the topic of Yamaha, the Japanese company has announced that they're intensifying their exploration and the use of hydrogen power as a more eco-friendly fuel in their long-term efforts of reaching carbon neutrality by 2050. The company is set to construct a new testing facility at their Moriyachi, Japan plant. The facility will feature a melting furnace and a heat treatment furnace that will operate off of hydrogen power. With the aim of reducing CO2 emissions, this facility will be investigating methods of melting aluminum using hydrogen gas instead of the natural gases and fossil fuels used today. Yamaha aims to finalize development by the end of 2026 and to start gradually implementing these new technologies in domestic and international casting facilities by the beginning of 2027. The company released in a statement, "In our search for alternative energy sources, we judged that electrification is not suited for the melting process in terms of energy efficiency, as it requires a large amount of heat, so we turned our attention to hydrogen energy." Yamaha, Kawasaki, and the motorcycle industry are progressively turning their attention towards hydrogen power as a greener alternative. However, skeptics do remain about its feasibility and the impact that it'll have on racing and motorcycles in general. Yamaha is diving into hydrogen power for a greener future, and while they're busy building new testing facilities and figuring out ways to melt aluminum using hydrogen power, the company also stated that they are figuring out ways to develop the equipment for producing hydrogen gas at a lower cost. Only time can tell if they can make producing hydrogen gas cost efficient. After all, the meaning of low cost is as slippery as a wet track. But let's just hope that these hydrogen-powered motorcycles don't come with a premium price tag. A federal judge in Utah has ruled that an environmental nonprofit group, Utah Physicians for a Healthy Environment, has a standing case to pursue claims that certain Harley-Davidson dealerships in the Salt Lake area are selling motorcycles without catalytic converters, contributing to air pollution and violating the Clean Air Act. However, claims that the motorcycles are excessively loud and violate federal law was dismissed. U.S. District Judge David Barlow acknowledged that motorcycles without catalytic converters contribute to ozone and PM 2.5 pollution, which is said to cause health problems. The lawsuit was filed in 2022 by Utah Physicians for a Healthy Environment, is only now moving forward, and targets 4 Harley-Davidson dealerships that are allegedly removing emission control parts at the customer's request and installing aftermarket parts instead. While Judge Barlow did allow the air pollution claims to proceed to trial, he denied the plaintiffs' preliminary injunction motion and dismissed the noise pollution claims, stating that they didn't provide sufficient evidence that the noise from the defendants' motorcycles directly affected its members. With the EPA violations now moving forward, this case could have serious implications, especially given with Utah's recent environmental controversies. But one has to wonder, with so many exhaust choices out in the market that have catalytic converters included and sound phenomenal, why would the dealerships even risk it? Harley-Davidson should remember, illegal modifications are like family secret recipes. They're best kept at home, away from the dealership. It sounds like Harley-Davidson is going to need much more than a new muffler to silence these allegations. In other news, Pierer Mobility, which owns KTM, Husqvarna, and has a 50.1 stake in MV Agusta, has announced a projected decline in overall sales for 2024, with an underperformance anticipated to persist throughout the rest of the year. After 3 years of better than usual success, Pierer Mobility has revealed that their motorcycle sales in both European and US markets have experienced substantial slowdown. They anticipate the total sales figures for the year to decline by 10 to 15% compared to previous levels in their motorcycle divisions. Pierer Mobility already has established partnerships with Chinese company CF Moto and Indian company Bajaj, and these recent developments indicate that more of the company's motorcycles will be produced in China, India, or other cost-efficient regions. The company has blamed this major shift due to the high interest rates in the United States and to the rapid rising production cost. Maybe it's worth considering that people might be simply losing interest in KTM, Husqvarna, and MV Agusta, as I personally rarely see those bikes on the road compared to other big brands in the motorcycle industry. In response to these recent developments, Pierer has announced a reduction to their workforce. The company explained, with the growth in sales figures over the last 10 years, and the number of employees at the motorbike subsidiary KTM AG has more than doubled. In view of the changed location and market situation, the number of employees has now had to be adjusted. It's a classic case of boasting impressive growth figures only to turn around and to deliver the news that layoffs are on their way. Flaunting previous achievements just before delivering the low blow of bad news is like a setup to a really bad punchline. If this news means that you're losing your job, that is a really rough situation. However, if you're not directly impacted by this, be grateful that you're sidestepping this big pile of dog shit. Now, it's not all bad news for everyone out here. At the Goodwood Festival of Speed earlier in July, the historic British brand Norton has unveiled its plans for global expansion, including the introduction of 6 new models over the next 3 years. The company announced that new product launches are set to begin as early as next year, but they have not revealed any details about the upcoming models. In addition to new models, the company has expressed their goals in boosting sales in the United States, France, Germany, Italy, and India. So while some companies are downsizing, others are expanding, it's all part of market dynamics. In the end, people will choose what they like and what they'll buy. So maybe KTM and Husqvarna are hitting the brakes a little bit. Norton is only revving up, proving that its classic charm has a whole lot of horsepower left. With the Paris Summer Olympics underway now, something that I have not been watching, but the news and events have been finding its way to my feed, so it has been on my mind. And I couldn't help but think, how come we don't have motorsports in the Olympics? Don't even begin to tell me that you don't think that motorsports competitors are athletes. Motorsports is a highly physical activity that involves skill, strategy, and physical endurance. A Formula One race car driver can lose up to 10 pounds in a single race, so it definitely takes a physical toll on the athlete. Dressage, curling, badminton, skeleton, which I only found out about today that it's in an Olympic sport where you're plummeting headfirst on a sled down an icy slope, or even luge, which is practically the same thing, but you're laying on your back instead of going headfirst. That, I understand that these are full-on skill sets, but you can't tell me that they're more athletic than motorsports like motocross, Formula One, rally, and MotoGP, to name a few. And let's be honest, going down an icy slope head first on a sled does sound intense, but it's not quite the same as trying to avoid crashing at 200 miles per hour. The more I dove into this topic and researching why motorsports are not an official Olympic sport, it did make sense to me. Motorsports rely on advanced machinery, which can lead to differences in performance based on the equipment available. Ensuring fairness and equal opportunity for all competitors would be a difficult task. Motorsports are also frequently linked to carbon emissions and environmental effects, and this can raise concerns for an event like the Olympics, which strives to promote sustainability as much as it can. Vehicles designed in motorsports are often extremely expensive, and not every country has the resources to produce their own cars easily. Beyond the price of vehicles themselves, maintaining a team of skilled engineers, mechanics, and covering their salaries adds in a significant expense. Additionally, Olympics are hosted in a single city, and most cities lack sufficient racing circuits to be able to handle the amount of events required. And to address this, new tracks would have to be built, which is a major challenge given that constructing a new racetrack is far more expensive than building facilities like velodromes or Olympic swimming pools. Racetracks aside, and the difficulties that could potentially arise with the Olympics bringing that idea to life, one could dive deeper into this idea of the possibility of everyone having an electric vehicle.
No! God, please, no! No!
That way, the skill set of the driver is more showcased rather than the possibilities of the machinery themselves. But I feel like I'm speaking for many people, and that would just kind of make it more meh. I don't think Formula One or MotoGP would be as entertaining if they were electric. And I won't even begin on the power capabilities and potential charging times of these electric vehicles if that were the case. So while some of you are out there enjoying the synchronized swimming and fencing, maybe it's best for motorsports to lay off the Olympics roster, or at least until we can charge cars faster than we can watch the opening of the Olympic ceremony. While we're on the topic of Olympics and being in Europe, if you plan on being in Milan, Italy sometime in November, you should consider checking out the world's largest two-wheel exhibition, EICMA. It'll be taking place November 5th through November 10th, and it's the event's 110th year anniversary. Every EICMA event offers a glimpse into the future of the motorcycle industry. Attendees gain a clear sense of upcoming trends, the priorities of manufacturers, but the main draw of the event is checking out what the manufacturers will be bringing to the market in 2025. The 2024 EICMA will be debuting its esports arena, giving fans an opportunity to play video games there, and tickets go on sale August 1st. So whether you're there to see the next big thing in motorcycles or just to play motorcycle-related video games, those are two things you definitely can't do from home. Entertainment aside, Yamaha has entered the transmission tech race with its new semi-automatic gearbox, the Yamaha Automated Manual Transmission, Y-AMT for short, designed to enhance dynamic and sportier riding. Unlike more practical designs from KTM and BMW, Yamaha's Y-AMT focuses more on performance, weighing just 6.2 pounds and promising faster shifts than traditional manuals, even with a quick shifter. It aims to let riders concentrate more on throttle, braking, and body position. Now, Honda has led this market with its dual clutch transmission since 2009, which has often matched and exceeded sales and manual bikes despite its added weight and cost. The Y-AMT isn't quite the company's first attempt in alternative shifting options, having developed the YCCS Yamaha chip controlled shift system for the FJR 1300 Sports Tourer almost 20 years ago. The YCCS system utilized an automatic hydraulic clutch to enable manual gear changes with a finger-operated lever. In contrast, the Y-AMT replaces the hydraulic mechanism with electronic switches. The Y-AMT offers flexible shifting options, including manual shifts with finger and thumb controls or a fully automatic mode. Riders can adjust their shifting preferences with two modes, D being for softer low rev changes and D plus being for quicker high rev shifts. Although Yamaha has not specifically stated which models will get the Y-AMT first, but it is anticipated to debut on their refreshed 2025 versions of the MT7 and the R7, with potential applications going across the board with sports, touring, and commuting bikes. Though specifics are still pending, especially as the company continues to update models for the Euro 5 Plus compliance. The announcement follows BMW's recent confirmation of their automated shift assistance system for their new 2025 R1300 GS and their R1300 GS Adventure, as well as KTM's introduction to the prototype of a semi-automatic gearbox for their 2025 1390 Super Adventure. With Honda's e-clutch equipped CB650R and CBR650R already on the market, and the sales of Honda's DCT models surpassing those of manual counterparts, it's evident that automatic transmissions are becoming a major competitive field and a key focus points for the future of the motorcycle industry. With all these new semi-automatic gearboxes coming out, it's clear that the transmission wars are getting up into high gears. Let's just hope we don't end up with a gearbox as complicated as a Rubik's Cube. Personally, I enjoy the act of switching gears. I feel like that's part of the fun in riding motorcycles. I get an automatic transmission can make it easier for some people to ride motorcycles, but come on. There's something classic about the manual transmission that just makes you feel like you're truly in control of the ride. On the contrary to what I just said, I am aware that when fuel injection, anti-lock brakes, digital screens, and traction control, even when they were new technologies and came out on the market, many people were loudly opposed to them as well. Is it the fear of change? Is it the difficulties of letting go of what we are accustomed to and what we know? Or is it merely gatekeeping? Automatic clutches can be really helpful for people with physical limitations who struggle with traditional gears but still have a passion for motorcycles. But they also have the potential of attracting new riders who are daunted by manual transmissions. Cars are the perfect example. Manual gearbox are becoming a rarity. Almost everyone rides an automated car, and many people don't even know how to drive stick shift. This shift in the automotive world might be exactly what the motorcycle industry is trying to tap into, which would create the market much bigger. And I will say it would be nice to have more motorcycle riders. And on the topic of gatekeeping, I know that's a little bit of a sticky word, but we do have to be careful with this because it's not all that healthy. Yes, we might have preferences, and that is okay to have. But we can't begin the trend of saying that you're not a real motorcyclist if you ride an automatic gearbox. We can't let this become a trend. This will be very toxic, and we should stay far away from it before it even becomes a thing. Because it's going to be a great thing to see the motorcycle community grow, even if it's at the cost of having more motorcycles become automated versus, manual transmissions. In a groundbreaking move, Suzuki is reportedly working on a rear-mounted camera for motorcycles, teaming up with electronics specialists in the development of a motorcycle-specific camera system. The move is expected to enhance the overall ride experience, where both side view mirrors and the rear view camera kind of work together, offering more safety on the road for riders. While rear view dash cams for motorcycles are commonly available on aftermarket sites, and it's nothing new, this is the first time a manufacturer is actively venturing into this idea into their production. This will be featuring a wide-angle display on a TFT screen, which will be placed next to their instrument cluster. The system will show the rear camera's feed to enhance the rider's awareness of their surroundings. However, Suzuki acknowledges that the view may not be perfectly accurate, much like traditional side view mirrors, and they're developing a software to zoom in on the video for a more precise view. All I can say to that is great. Just what we need. Another new screen for us to be constantly distracted by. Will it actually make us safer, or will it lead to more accidents? And is it really necessary? After all, who needs situational awareness when you can just have another new fancy screen to stare at constantly? Not all new innovations are great and live to change the direction of technology and mechanics. So what do you think about the idea of motorcycles having seatbelts? Well, Moto, which is a Chinese company, is looking at a new approach to bring this idea back to life. BMW's short-lived C1 scooter was one of the few attempts to incorporate safety restraints on a motorcycle, if you consider scooters motorcycles, as well as having a roof attached. However, in the name of safety, there has not been many other attempts with adding seatbelts to motorcycles. The concept never really took off, and it makes sense why. When or if you should crash, we all should know that the best thing to do is to let go of the motorcycle and get as far away from it as possible. Forbid that you would have to experience that. The Chinese company's patented system uses an adjustable safety bar or a lap belt to keep the rider safe in specific situations. This system aims to protect riders during sudden braking situation events or impacts, but will release during a fall or sideways or if there's a side impact, and uses spring mechanisms to manage safety without completely restricting movement. The CF Moto's patent showcases this technology on their 1250 TRG Tour motorcycle, which is currently only available in China at the moment. When they discussed this patent, they were thinking of combining the safety restraints as well as radar-assisted braking in order with the aim of reducing the risk of injury by preventing the rider from being thrown forward on a motorcycle into other obstacles. This innovation is not going to hit the markets anytime soon, but it does highlight the complex challenges that motorcycles companies are facing in the name of improving motorcycle safety. I, for one, am not ready for my motorcycle to have automated braking and safety restraints. I ride motorcycles because they're safer than cars is something that no one said ever. We all know that motorcycles are inherently more dangerous than cars. I truly believe that, we all fully understand this, and motorcycles shouldn't be made to be more like cars. The idea of having safety restraints on a motorcycle seems like it would actually reduce the safety of riding it. It would increase, the chance, I would at least think that it would increase the chances of being pinned under the bike or being stuck on the motorcycle while it's dragging you across the pavement. Forbid you actually have to experience that. So if motorcycles start coming with seatbelts, the best thing that I see coming out from that is for you to be securely strapped in on your bike when you're laughing your butt off of it at the idea of motorcycles having seatbelts. Recently in the United States, Minnesota has become the 6th state to legalize lane splitting or lane filtering, as some people may call it. With this new law, it allows motorcycle drivers to drive up to 25 miles per hour or 15 miles per hour faster than surrounding vehicles, as well as they introduce penalties for car drivers that obstruct motorcyclists from doing this. Now, lane splitting has kind of always sparked debates within the motorcycle community and beyond. There is data that suggests that it helps lower motorcycle accidents in states that do allow, lane filtering, and it lessens the injury severity, particularly in rear-end collisions. Many drivers in areas where lane splitting is not that typical do remain still rather doubtful about the statistics and the benefits of its safety towards motorcyclists. Despite its widespread use globally, the resistance still persists where it's not common. And this conversation, I don't feel like will be over anytime soon. Now, I hope I'm not going to be butchering his name, but this law did gain traction after Phil Stauberger, a AMA member and a BMW MOA treasurer, he had shared his personal experience of when he got rear-ended on a motorcycle to legislators in the state of Minnesota. And his story had inspired them to want to prevent this from happening even more frequently in their community to other motorcyclists. Hence, they passed this law. Now, as for Florida, where I live currently, lane filtering is still a no-go, but I do think it's time for some change. Now, given how riders in my area react to someone simply switching lanes and merging lanes, I don't know how well Floridians will react to motorcycles slipping through traffic. They might consider it as a new form of competitive driving. Now, the conversation about lane splitting, even within the motorcycle community, is a hot topic. Some people are for it, some people are against it. While the statistics do show that states that do have it, it is proven to be, to bring a little bit more safety for the riders. There are the people who do get carried away. Like in this law, they specifically state 25 miles per hour or up to 15 miles per hour faster than surrounding traffic. Some people I have seen on, not even just sport bikes, I have seen some, Harleys, and it's not just sport bikes, that will it will split lanes so fast where it makes sense where instead of it being more safe, that it actually creates a more dangerous environment. It's kind of like staying within the boundaries. If they do give us these privileges in whatever state you're in, we should be a little bit more mindful how we use them, because it's easy to take something good and give it a bad name. And this goes for many more topics beyond just lane filtering. Now, if any of you out there are Elvis fans, this news is going to be something up your alley. Triumph has released a brand new special edition motorcycle out there, and this bike might just be the one for you. The 2025 Triumph Bonneville T120 Elvis Presley Limited Edition. And now this is a one-of-a-kind motorcycle where they only had made 925 units worldwide. So you better hurry up and get yours while you can. It's celebrating Elvis and his Memphis Mafia group of friends who rode Bonnevilles at that time. And the Elvis Presley limited edition bike, it draws inspiration from a story in 1965. And according to the story, Elvis and his Memphis Mafia group of friends were at Bel Air soon after Jerry Schilling had purchased his new Triumph T20 Bonneville. And Elvis took the bike for a spin, and he decided to order Bonnevilles for all his friends in his friend group. And they rode those bikes well into the night, causing neighbors to complain about the noise that they were making. At least that's how the story goes. Now, if this motorcycle alone wasn't enough to get you to start running to your local Triumph dealership to put in an order, each Elvis Presley limited edition bike will come with a Sony Gold disc in an exclusive Elvis Presley and Triumph motorcycle record sleeve, and along with a certificate of authenticity, of it being authentic, which is signed by the Triumph CEO, Nick Bloor, and Jamie Salter, founder, chairman, and CEO of ABG Elvis Presley Enterprises. The 2025 Triumph Bonneville T120 Elvis Presley Limited Edition is going to be starting around $15,500, and it'll arrive dealerships around September 2024, but you can reserve your bike well ahead of time at your local dealer if this is the bike of your dreams. Elvis Presley bike isn't quite my style. I have mentioned before, I'm not quite of an Elvis Presley fan. Now, if Freddie Mercury was known for riding motorcycles, and let's say they made some brand that the motorcycle that he rode made a bike in his memorabilia, like in his honor, I might just reconsider, that would be nice. But I definitely get, if you're an Elvis fan, this might be just a nice little collection bike to keep as a garage trophy, because I feel like that's just one of those things that's probably better to look at or bar hop than actually, go cross country on, just to, preserve its pristineness. It's like some cars are for riding while other cars are for showcasing, and I feel like motorcycles are kind of in that same way, like the Ducati Superleggera. That's not really a bike that you're just going to ride to your local convenience store, and that's just more of a show-off bike. And I feel like this is also more of a show-off bike, like custom choppers and whatnot, or the really intense ones, not just the normal ones. But yeah, this is definitely, I think, a garage trophy worthy bike if you're an Elvis Presley fan. Now, on a positive note, Harley Davidson has announced its official sponsorship with the Build Moto program in 2025 season and following 2 years after that. This Build program was founded in 2011. It's a 501c3 nonprofit group that allows high school students to gain hands-on experience in building motorcycles to AMA flat track racing standards. And then they take that bike that they built and enter it into a judged competition. Under the guidance of faculty advisors and up to 3 mentors, the students learn design, welding, fabrication, repair, machining, media, and more as they work on these bikes. As a partnership with Harley Davidson, they're going to supply more motorcycles, parts, and accessories, and offer access to manufacturing experts and additional support. This program is helping teach the next generation of motorcycle enthusiasts and mechanics and designers, engineers, and trade experts. And it's something that should be pushed into more schools, in my opinion. Whether you're a Harley supporter or you stand by South Park's impersonation of Harley Davidson riders, I think that this is something we can all get behind, and more motorcycle companies should be investing in. It's really nice. While school is great for learning, how to read, how to count, the history of the world, at least these are things that schools ought to be teaching. I feel like they should also be teaching life skills, whether it's repair, building something, and really anything like woodshop class. I remember like some of us schools I went to had woodshop when others didn't, and I feel like that's a pretty important class to have, besides classes that are more focused on the current state of social issues in the world. I think we do need to put some attention in just teaching the next generation of kids of how to build and repair and make something from scratch and make it work, and not just food, like motorcycles, for example, or building a house. I mean, that's kind of really grand, big examples, but I really hope you get what I'm getting at, that this is something that also should have a strong agenda being pushed behind it with the upcoming generation and skill sets that more people, not everybody, but more people than currently should know how to do. Now that's a wrap for today's motorcycle news on this channel, and with it being my first segment doing this, I am very curious of what y'all thought about it, and if this is something y'all would like me to do in the future. And I'm curious about your opinions on some of the stories that I put out there. Let me know if you'd like me to do this again. I had a blast. Anyways, I appreciate y'all's support. If y'all want to take your support a step further, and the link in the description below, I do have a way that you can donate to the channel through Buy Me a Coffee. And that money goes directly for helping me to continue with this channel and just helping it grow so I can do more videos more frequently and kind of spread my wings a little bit further. But I do appreciate all of y'all watching. Thank you so much. I really hope y'all have a great day. Y'all stay safe out there. But most of all, don't forget to love those around you.